Hi, I'm Mike Trump, owner and master blender of Oakridge BBQ, and welcome back to my home kitchen. You guys have been after me now for about 5 years to come out with a chili mix, and we finally got it ready. The blend is ready, the labels aren't yet, but we want to go ahead and get it released, because it's like the perfect chili time. Perfect time of the year for chili. So we're going to do a quick recipe today, show everybody how to make the chili. This is just my base recipe, so you can do any different number of modifications to it. You can even completely ignore this recipe and do it your own way. That's totally cool too. For the time being, this is how our chili seasoning will be sent out to you in very minimalist packaging, because right now we don't have the labels ready yet, but I want to get it out to you. It's important that I do. So this would be our small size, and this size will do 2 pounds of ground beef. Exactly. You don't have to measure it. You can literally just dump the whole package right in there and 2 pounds of ground beef. This would be our other size that we'll carry it in, and this is 1 pound, and this would be enough to do 8 pounds of ground beef. So we're going to get into the recipe here real quick, and let's get started. All right, so we're going to be dealing with a 2 pound base. I got 80-20 ground pork here, 80% protein, 20% fat. You could use a leaner ground beef, or you could use brisket, all sorts of other meats, deer, venison, elk meat, whatever the case may be. I'm just, the 80-20 is nice and convenient, and I like the chili made with that. So that's what we're going to use for this recipe. Okay, so 2 pounds ground beef, 1 package chili mix, Oakridge chili mix, 2 cups, no salt added chicken stock. Okay, it's important because this chili mix has no salt in it, so there's going to be salt in the recipe, and I don't want you to over salt it. So this is basically what my base recipe is for I'd say a no water chili. So I don't see any reason why to add water to chili. It doesn't have any flavor. Why not add things to chili that have their flavors of their own? So we're going to start with 2 cups of no salt added chicken stock, 2 cups of tomato puree, and that basically amounts to all of 1 can. It's a 10-ounce can of tomato puree, and then most of the second can. I like, Hunt's is fine. There's lots of other brands out there. What you want to look for is you want to make sure it has fairly low sodium. This particular one has 90 milligrams of sodium per serving. So, because like I said, we're going to be adding salt later. And that's the easiest way to control, is to try to keep the salt out of everything until the very end and season it once you put your chilies into the ground beef. So, all right, like I said before, 2 pounds, right on the nose, of 80-20 ground pork, 80-20 ground beef. You could use ground pork, but this is 80-20 ground beef. 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil. The nicer the olive oil, the better. And then we're also going to use 2 teaspoons, level teaspoons, of kosher salt. All right, one of the things I do differently with my chili is I like to bloom the chili, the dried chili mix, in a non-fatty liquid, okay? So whenever you put the chili mix directly into the ground beef, either while it's raw or after it's cooked, the fat that is rendered in the ground beef will coat the little particles that are in here of the ground chilies and the garlic and the onion and all of that. And they won't allow them to release their flavors as easily back into the chili. So what I do is I bloom the chili mix, okay? And the way we're going to do that is we're going to take a medium saucepan. It's a 2-quart saucepan. We're going to put in our 2 cups of no salt added chicken stock. You could use beef stock. I've tried it with beef stock. And if you use like straight up 2 cups of beef stock, it really kind of tastes like you dropped a couple bouillon cubes, beef bouillon cubes, and I don't really care for it. I've tried 50-50, half chicken stock and half beef stock, and that helped that issue. It wasn't as beef bouillon-y, I guess, but it still had that kind of really overt, heavy beef flavor. So I just stick to 2 cups straight up, no sodium chicken stock. We're going to develop some flavor on this ground beef whenever we actually fry it up. So we'll get some extra flavor in there from that. Okay, so next is 2 cups of tomato puree. And I left my instruments over there, so bear with me. I'm going to walk over for a second. You want to use a little spatula and make sure you get all of this goodness out of there. You don't want to leave any of it behind. Because if you leave it behind, that will affect the consistency that we've worked so hard to develop with this recipe. So what we're looking for here is a chili that's not too tight and also not too loose. Just right, just in that Goldilocks zone. Okay? All right, so we've got 2 cups of tomato puree in there. We're going to stir it up with a whisk to get it nice and incorporated together. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take it over and put it on the stove, put it on a medium to medium-low heat setting, and raise its temperature to a low simmer. And when it hits that low simmer, we're going to go ahead and dump this entire bag of chili mix right in there and whisk it in. And then we're going to put a tight-fitting lid on here and continue at very low heat, like on a very bare simmer heat. Because we don't want to burn the chilies that are in here, and we don't want to bring it up to anything higher than a medium simmer. But we want the heat and the liquids to help rehydrate all of the dried spices and dried chilies that are in here, and bloom all of the flavors within this pot right here. Then, as we're waiting for that to happen, we're going to go ahead and put the ground beef in a larger pot with the olive oil, and get it going, put the spurs to it. We're going to actually kind of get a little bit of char developed, so we get that extra little bit of beef flavor from that little bit of char. And then once the water has cooked out of the beef completely, so there's no more steam coming out of the pot, then we'll just take this steeped chili mix, put it right into the ground beef, and mix it up. And then we're going to go for an hour on very low, the lowest setting your stove has, to simmer that and kind of break down the burger a little bit more, make it really soft, get a really nice mouthfeel. So head over to the stove and we'll get going. Okay, we've had the chicken stock and tomato puree simmering. Brought it up to just a low simmer. Give it a little whisk here. And then what we're going to do is just take this entire small package here. It's 110 grams, what the package size is. Dump it right in there and get those chilies nice and happy. So the mix has 6 different chilies: Ojillo, New Mexico, Pasilla Negro, Ancho, Chipotle, and red California chili, along with garlic, onion, cumin, a little bit of Mexican oregano, and no salt, no sugar, no other ingredients. Just pure chilies, ground chilies, and granulated onion and garlic, and really, really good quality cumin and other spices. All right, so now the biggest thing to do here is turn the heat way down, as far as down as it'll go, and tight fitting lid, because you don't want to lose any of the moisture in there. You just want to steep those chilies. And honestly, once you get it back up to that high simmer, you can really just kill the heat and just let it sit there and steep while you're getting your burger ready. So give it just a couple more minutes and I'll actually kill the heat on this, and we're going to get the burger right now. So put the spurs to it, 1/4 cup extra virgin olive oil. Now if you use something a little leaner besides 80-20, you may want to add a little bit more olive oil, or maybe a little bit more chicken stock, just so it doesn't get dry on you. All right, and in goes the ground beef. All right, now I'm going to put a lid on this and leave it cracked like that, so the steam can escape but the burger can brown and it doesn't make a huge mess out of my stove. Like I said, it's on high or pretty high, and it's going to hiss and sizzle, and what you want to do is you want to smell for that nice crispy beef smell. Not burnt, but crispy. Kind of like what you get on a flat top grill when you're making sliders or something. And then that's a good time to then go ahead and start stirring the burger up and breaking it apart, and continue cooking it down until you get everything all cooked down and all the water cooked out. So, all right, we're going to do that. We'll be back here in just a few. Okay, we're back. So I had to turn on the vent hood, so hopefully it's not too loud in the recording. And we're going to open this up here carefully. It's going to be hot. All right. That burger there all broken up. Got a good little crust starting on the very bottom there. That's perfect. All right, now we're just going to keep cooking it until it's fully cooked all the way through, and we cook off all the moisture. We don't, you can't cook off the fat; it won't go anywhere. But you can definitely cook off the water. That's what we're going to try to do here. Keep the heat about medium now, maybe medium high. Let's check on our steeping chilies. Make sure it's not too hot. Oh yeah, nice and thick, just like it needs to be. Not boiling, not burning, not scorching, just nice and hot. Everything in there is getting all happy. All right, lid back on so we don't lose any of that important moisture. And now the power, or the heat is completely off on that. We're just gonna let it sit there and rest until it's time to put it in the burger. All right, it's almost time for the moment of truth. We're going to put the two together. So we have a burger now that is fully cooked, and all the water has been cooked out. Most all, it's getting really close. You can tell when the water's mostly all gone because it'll stop producing steam whenever you stir it around. And it's just about ready. I mean, you can put the chili mix in there, bloomed chili mix a little sooner, and you'll have a little bit looser chili. But I like to make sure most all the water is cooked out of the meat before I add the bloomed mix. Okay, so we're ready now. This has been turned off for a while, but it's still nice and hot. We're going to take this and spatula, make sure we get all the good stuff. Okay, now we don't want to fry it, so what I want to do too is I want to turn down the heat. We're not looking to cook this sweated out bloomed chili mix. We're just looking to incorporate it now into the burger. Now if you use a leaner burger, you may want to add a little bit more chicken stock at this point. At least wait until you get it all mixed up, so you can kind of tell for sure what the consistency is going to be like. I mean, it'll tighten up a little bit as it cooks down. So you want it a little bit loose at this point compared to where you would want it finished, because it's not done yet. We have to cook it down. Otherwise, the burger is still too toothsome. It has too much chew to it. So we need to continue to simmer it down. So once we get it all mixed in, get the sides scraped down for the last time, what we're going to do is we're going to put the lid back on, because you don't want to lose any of that moisture just to boiling it off. And we're going to also turn the stove to its lowest possible setting. And in this particular stove, I have a special simmering burner directly behind here. That's a little bitty guy. We'll get started up. I'm going to put it on its lowest setting. Those are going to be hot. Now don't burn yourself. Okay. Now the last thing is that 2 teaspoons of kosher salt. If you want to start a little bit lower, it shouldn't be too salty, but if you want to go with a teaspoon and a half to start and then test it, that's perfectly okay too. 2 teaspoons, 2 level teaspoons of kosher salt seems to be just about perfect. All right, we'll take this and stir that salt in there. I'm also not a fan of adding extra fat. I know some of those chili restaurants that are real famous for their chili, they take and cook down a whole bunch of burger, then they add a whole bunch of beef lard to it, beef tallow. I don't know, that just sounds like a recipe for spending a lot of time in the bathroom to me. So I keep my chili just using what fat comes out of the 80-20 with that little bit of extra virgin olive oil. You end up with about a half of a cup of liquid fat by the time you were to strain out what renders out of the beef, plus the quarter cup of extra virgin olive oil. You end up with about a half of a cup. So even the simmer, I'm going to turn the simmer burner all the way down because you don't want to see it boiling. You just want to see it barely percolating. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to leave it there, the lowest setting, for an hour. And we're going to come back, we're going to stir it every 15 minutes, make sure we put the lid back on, and then make sure it's not burning or scorching on the bottom. If it is, make sure you turn your heat down, move it off a little bit to the side if you have to. But you need to at least for 45 minutes to an hour. I mean, an hour would be about perfect. Stirring every 15 minutes. So once we get that done, we'll be back with a finished chili. All right, well that's it. It's a real simple recipe. Just bag of chili mix, 2 pounds of ground beef, a quarter cup of olive oil, 2 cups of low sodium or no salt chicken stock, and 2 cups of tomato puree, and you're pretty much it. Now if you want to add beans, you're more than welcome to. If you want to add, diced onions or peppers or can of Rotel or any number of different things, you can, the sky's the limit. This recipe is just a base recipe on basic, what I would call Texas style chili con carne. So it's red chilies with meat and no water. I mean, we wouldn't use any water in this. I don't think there's ever any reason why you should. I mean, if you want to use a little bit of beer, some guys like to do that. Now, what this ends up being, what I would consider probably a medium to a medium mild chili. It's not very spicy at all. I like to leave that up to the cook. If they want to add jalapenos to it or serranos or anything else like that, you're more than able to, and you've got a good base to start with to really just kind of use your imagination. So don't think that this is the only way to make chili. I mean, there's as many different ways and recipes for chili as there are people. So this is just mine, and this works very well with our new chili mix. So for convenience sake, like I said, this small bag here for 110 grams or almost 6 ounces, probably about 5 ounces, is for 2 pounds. So you can just literally just put it right in there, or do the bloom method like I showed you in the video. This would make 8 pounds of chili. So if you want to go for the bigger bag, that's a full pound of the chili mix. Again, no salt added, no sugar. It's just pure chilies and spices, and that's it. So again, thanks again for watching. If you like the video, please hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more of these. We'll be making a lot more. Just getting started in this video thing, so we're just barely cracking the surface. We got lots of things to cover going forward. So make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of that. And we'll see you next time. Thanks again.